Hello folks, this is Sue Bell from NetworkEmpire.com and ThemeZoom.com, and I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk to you about the new Google AdWords Keyword Planner and how it and its database differ from the older legacy tools, the Traffic Estimator tool and the Keyword tool, and most importantly, how those changes impact you when you go to create a website, when you're trying to choose keywords that you're going to use in your website. Okay, so I'm here on the landing screen for this tool, and first of all, I just want to say that this first tool here in the list is very similar to the old keyword tool, and the second option in the list is more similar to the Traffic Estimator tool. So let's just take a look at the Traffic Estimator tool for a moment. I'm going to just type in a couple of different ideas here. And then obviously you can change your targeting, and we're going to go ahead and get estimates. Now this brings you to the next screen, and you don't really get to see too many estimates or too much information on the estimates until you put in a bid, which is pretty similar to the way it used to be. And now at this point, you can actually download the file, which is interesting, and I'll show you that in a minute, or you can click into your keyword list and you can see what your keywords were. It does that every twice in a while. So anyway, there's not too much interesting thing to see on the next screen anyway, so we'll just go right straight to the download file. Now, the download file, the first thing I want to say is where the data points start to differ. And there's two things that you would see if you were comparing the data from the legacy tools, the legacy traffic estimator tool, to this tool. There's a couple of really interesting things that you would see. First is your average monthly searches. Now, this is interesting in that they actually break down, if you choose the option to have it break down your searches for the months, you can see that it shows you the months here. It used to show it to you in kind of a little graphical form, which was probably a little bit easier to understand. But this is nice, I think, because it's actually showing you the numbers, and if you're good with spreadsheets, you can do some interesting things with those numbers, and you can get a feel for how your traffic is going to wane and flow across the timeline of the entire year. So average monthly searches then is actually the average of all 12 months, whereas in the previous tool, the search volume, is what they used to call it, was actually the number of searches for the last 30 days. And about once a month they would update that, and then you'd have the search volume for the last month. So this is quite a different way of looking at the data. In ways, I think it's better because it normalizes the search volume for across the entire year. So in other words, let's say that you're in the bicycle market. If you go to make a bicycle website in January, when not too many people are searching for bicycles, you're going to get completely different values in your keyword tool than you would in, say, May or June. And so any of those markets that are seasonal, you had to pick the time when you decided you wanted to take a look at the keywords, because from month to month the keywords were going to be completely different. The values of the keywords were going to be completely different. So I like the approach that they've attempted to normalize this data. Now, the thing that I don't like is that in addition to normalizing the data, they've also really heavily reduced the data. Now, they say it's a lot more accurate than it used to be, and that's a possibility. I really couldn't say for sure, because the things that I noticed the largest discrepancies are the larger the volume of searches got, the larger the discrepancy seemed to be. And even if I took the trends and I normalized it and I went through a whole bunch of mathematical processes to try and figure out how they got from the old database to the new database, and I just couldn't see any similarities for the larger keyword terms. Now, on the smaller keywords where you're talking just a few thousand searches per month, there was almost no change. There was always some difference, but even within Google there were differences depending on how you queried the data. So I really couldn't complain. When you get into the niche areas, the differences were negligible. But as you start to get up toward the top of your vertical markets, it becomes really impactful. So what this means to you as somebody building out a website, when you're looking at the value of those keywords, the top level keywords are going to appear to be less profitable than they were before. Is this good or bad? In some ways, I think it's actually more realistic. I don't think that there is as much buyer's intent on those top level keywords. And so by reducing the search volume, even if they have reduced the search volume more than they should have, all this is doing is simply, as you look at the value of those keywords, all it's really going to do is give you a more realistic picture of the kind of money that you're going to make off those terms when and if you actually eventually rank for them. In other words, it's going to scale down your expectations. You're not going to look at a keyword like diet and go, oh my goodness gracious, I gotta have that keyword. So, I mean, the diet still has a whole bunch of searches. Bicycle still has a whole bunch of searches, but it's just a whole lot smaller than it used to be. It's like a tenth the size of what it used to be. Some keywords, it's more like half. Okay, so it's a significant percentage smaller. It's not just like, 5 or 10%. So, okay, that's one thing. And then, obviously, as I said, I think that this is really cool that they've actually given values for all the different months. That's excellent. And then the other thing that I found really interesting is that they have two different kinds of cost per click. They give you the estimated average cost per click, and then back here at the beginning, they give you, where did it go? They give you the average cost per click. Now it took me a little while to figure out what the difference between those two are. And the average cost per click, in fact, all of these fields up here at the beginning are averages, okay? So this is the average cost per click of all of the people who, no matter what they bid, no matter what they set their daily limits to be, this is the average of what all of the pay-per-click spend was over the course of the last year. So this is going to be a much lower number than typically. I mean, depends on what you bid. Like that's the whole point, is it depends on what you bid. But it's going to be a very different number from your estimated, I've lost it here now, your estimated cost per click. Here we go. Your estimated average cost per click. So this is what they estimate your costs are going to be based on what you bid and what you factored in for a daily budget. And so that's interesting that they have two radically different values, potentially radically different values for that one idea. And aside from that, I would have to say that from what I've seen, the database is a whole lot cleaner. So there's a lot of artifacts that used to be in the old database where they would have punctuation concatenated to a word. So you'd have like bicycle dot. And bicycle dot would come back with the same cost per click and the same click-through rate and the same searches as bicycle. And you knew that that wasn't true. Nobody searches for bicycle dot. And so there were a lot of artifacts like that in the previous database that I don't see, at least I don't see it so much in this database. So I'm really grateful that they've cleaned that up, because that was a sore spot for people who were new to creating websites. They'd be lured in by these artifacts and create websites out of keywords that were kind of like strange. So that's gone away. So I think on the whole, the changes that have been made are positive. I think that it's going to result in creating a better website, and your expectations are going to be better managed. And on the whole, I think it's good. And the ramifications that this is going to have in our particular tools is we're going to dump the entire old database, all of the values, and all of the keywords probably too. That'll take, we've got a huge database, so that'll take a while, but we'll at least stale all of the data so that as you drill into stuff, you're going to bring back all new data points, and you won't be looking at apples and oranges where some of the data is from the old database and some of the data is from the new database. I don't know how other keyword tools are managing that, but that's the approach that we're taking. Okay, so that's the new Keyword Planner and the new database and how it impacts you and the making of your website and making money online. Thanks so much. This is Sue Bell from ThemeZoom.com and NetworkEmpire.com signing off.